Thank you for coming back and being with us. A couple of housekeeping issues. We've gotten done with the book of Acts, and so over the next few weeks, I'm going to do some one-shot look at what I like to call the postcards of the New Testament. We're going to look at 2nd John today and 3rd John and Jude. And after those three, we're going to take, because some people being out of town, we're going to take about 3 weeks off. And when we come back, we're going to have a little bit different of a format than what we're doing now. But just stick with us, come back, and hopefully we can all be blessed by the endeavor. As I said, today we're going to start with 2nd John. And 2nd John is a very interesting little book, only 13 verses. And we're going to read through it and then look at some chunks of it and make some observations and see what we can take home with us. So if you would, let's read 2nd John, verse 1. The elder to the chosen lady and her children, whom I love in truth, and not only I, but also all who know the truth, for the sake of truth, which abides in us and will be with us forever. Grace, mercy, and peace will be with us from God the Father and from Jesus Christ, the Son of the Father, in truth and love. I was very glad to find some of your children walking in truth, just as we have received commandment to do from the Father. Now, I ask you, lady, not as though I were writing to you a new commandment, but the one which we've heard from the beginning, that we love one another. And this is love, that we walk according to his commandments. This is the commandment, just as you have heard from the beginning, that you should walk in it. For many deceivers have gone out into the world, those who do not acknowledge Jesus Christ as coming in the flesh. This is the deceiver and the Antichrist. Watch yourselves, that you do not lose what we have accomplished, but that you may receive a full reward. Anyone who goes too far and does not abide in the teaching of Christ does not have God, and the one who abides in the teaching, he has both the Father and the Son. If anyone comes to you and does not bring this teaching, do not receive him into your house, do not give him a greeting, for the one who gives him a greeting participates in his evil deeds. Though I have many things to write to you, I do not want to do so with paper and ink, but I hope to come to you and speak face to face so that your joy may be full. The children of your chosen sister greet you. One thing that I find interesting just about the whole letter of 2nd John is that the language is not typical of John in the Gospel of John or in 1st John or in Revelation. It's almost like this letter has some sort of hidden, veiled meaning that's couched in terms of family. You know, the elder is writing the chosen lady and her children, and the chosen lady's sister and her children greet one another, and that there's the Father and the Son, and there is this relationship going on in this family. And it seems like possibly if there was a persecution going on of the church, we don't find the word church in there. We don't find faith. We don't find any of those things. Instead, we find it's almost like a more intimate conversation between people who are in a family together. And as John is presenting this letter, there are three main ideas that we want to go over. And the first idea comes in verses 1 through 4. In the first 4 verses, John talks about, he uses the word truth 5 times. 5 times in 4 verses he uses the word truth. And if we start in verse 4, we see that there are people walking in truth. The children are walking in truth. That grace, mercy, and peace from God in Jesus is in truth. So this position that we have in the family with the Father and the Son is in truth. And that truth, in verse 2, abides with us forever. And everyone who knows the truth is loving you. And then he starts off with, I love you in truth. So this idea of truth, it's not just truth in general. It's not like things that are true. It's talking about something specific. But he doesn't really give us a hint as to what that truth is just yet. So we're going to put that idea of truth on the back burner. But this truth that abides in us, that connects us, that we get grace and peace and mercy from God through this truth, and that we love each other in this truth. Let's see what he has to say that he may reveal to us about this truth a little later. Okay, so let's put that one to the side. The second idea that we find is love. In verses 5 and 6, it says this: Now I ask you, lady, not as though I were writing to you a new commandment, but the one which we have had from the beginning, that we love one another. And this is love, that we walk according to his commandments. And this is the commandment, just as you heard from the beginning, that you should walk in it. So it's almost like a circular pattern. I'm giving you this commandment. And this commandment is the same commandment that's always been here. And it's that you should love each other. And really what love is walking according to what Jesus is. It doesn't say Jesus, but according to Jesus and God's commandment. Well, what is Jesus' God's commandment? That we love each other. So, loving each other contains walking in the commandments of God and Jesus. And the commandments of God and Jesus is that we love each other. Love is at the center of the relationships we have with each other that's given to us because of this truth that we read about in the first 4 verses. So there is this truth in which I love you, and all the ones who appreciate this truth love you, as long as you walk in this truth. And so this love is what is coming out of being filled with this truth, individually and collectively. Each of us, as we are embracing the truth, we love. We love. And that's what we do. But he still hadn't told us really what this truth is yet. This truth is producing this love, should be producing this love in us, because it's central to all this relationship we're talking about. But he hasn't said anything, he hasn't specified what that truth is yet. So let's look at the next thing. And the next thing is deceivers. Verse 7, many deceivers have gone into the world, those who do not acknowledge Jesus Christ as coming in the flesh. This is the deceiver and the Antichrist. John masterfully reveals to us what the truth is by showing how the truth is being attacked. The truth is that Jesus came in the flesh. And there are those that are trying to tell you that Jesus did not come in the flesh. Now, nowadays, that might not seem to be that big of a deal. Like, well, of course he came in the flesh. He was a person and he was here. He was a real person. He was God made man, God with us. We talk about those things. But there's more to Jesus coming in the flesh than just those words. God, in order to save us, became like us. We can't say that God doesn't understand what we go through because Jesus became like us. He gave up. We read that Jesus did not regard equality with God something to be held on to, but he emptied himself and became just like you and me. Jesus, because he loves us so much, he emptied himself of being God and became just like you and me and served us in love until he died for us, which ultimately saves us. And then he was bodily resurrected again on the third day, which is a part of the gospel. So the truth about Jesus is he did come in the flesh. He became like us. And he paid the price for us. And then he showed us that there is hope for the future in the resurrection. This is the truth that we believe. And if someone comes and says that Jesus was not really that he was not God in the flesh, then it says they are deceitful and they are anti-Christ. Because that was the whole point of the Christ. All of the scriptures prophesied that this Messiah or Christ was coming to do this exact thing. They might not have understood it at the time, and we might not even really understood how those prophecies were fulfilled, but that's what God intended. And so if someone says it doesn't really work that way, then they are anti-Christ. They are the Antichrist. And they are trying to deceive you. And he says, whenever these notions, whenever these things start coming at you, watch yourselves, that you don't lose what we have accomplished, that you may receive a full reward. Whenever the deceivers come, whenever the messages of the deceitful ones are trying to pull you away from Jesus and his sacrifice for us and his love for us, when they're trying to pull you away, you need to be very careful that it doesn't undermine everything that those people of faith that have followed the truth and passed it along through all the years that they've worked for to bring you to the point of belief. And he says, and anyone who goes too far, anyone who goes beyond that, and we're talking about anyone who goes to being for Jesus, for the Christ, to being anti-Christ in their teaching, right? Anyone who goes too far, they don't abide in the teaching about Christ, and they don't have God. And it says, if anyone comes to you and is telling you this stuff, is trying to lead you away from that truth, don't have anything to do with them. Don't let them in your house. In a society that exalts hospitality, and if someone doesn't show hospitality, it looks very negatively on them and their family. John says, and this is the John that talks about love and love and love and be hospitable and be with one another. He says if a person comes and is denying that Jesus came in the flesh, you have nothing to do with them. You don't give them hospitality, because if you do, you partake in their evil deeds. That you are becoming like them. You're connecting yourself. You're marrying yourself to someone who is anti-Christ. So you need to be careful. And he says, I've got other things I want to tell you, but I'd rather tell you in face-to-face whenever I come to visit you. And know that your sister and her children are thinking about you. So me, what do I take out of this? That there is something profound about Jesus coming in the flesh for us. About God showing His love for us by becoming one of us. And showing us that true love is about sacrifice. And walking in that love it's not an easy thing, but it's a very rewarding thing. And when we do, we become a part of this great family that struggles sometimes, but we're here for each other. Because indeed we are the family of God with our big brother Jesus. And so we should love each other. Love each other like He loved us. Thank you for being with us. And we'll go into 3 John next week. Take care.